Hello everyone, this video is in continuation to our videos wherein we are discussing about the different phylums. We have discussed till mollusca. In this video we'll start with Echinodermata. I'll be discussing the characteristics which specifically belong to Echinodermata. We'll be talking about the ones which are common for all the phylums also, but they remain the same. So basically we'll talk about the characters of echinoderms. And watch the video till the end, because in the end you will get everything in the form of important pointers and flowcharts on the board which you can use for your notes. So we'll start now. Echinodermata, first of all, whenever the term Echinodermata comes, echino word means spines. So they are also known as spiny skinned animals. Yeah, organisms. Fine. So they are spiny skin. Now they are not spines basically like plants. They are calcareous spicule-like structure. Their shell is, or you can say their outer exoskeleton is made up of calcium. It is calcareous in nature and it has spicule-like structures which give it a spiny appearance. Not specifically, we are not talking about spines here. We are talking about calcareous structures, the spicules. They are spiny skinned animals and they are marine. Also benthic. Now marine, that means they live in sea, and benthic, that means they are found at sea bottoms, sea beds. Fine. So if you see a documentary wherein we are talking about starfishes, sea cucumbers and all, so when scuba divers they go inside, so you will find that all those organisms, they are found at the sea bed. So they are benthic in nature. They are found at sea beds. Now the general characters, they are triploblastic. I'll just write it down. They are triploblastic. They have well developed organ system. They have a true coelom. So these general characters remain common for almost all the higher phylums. Now we are going to talk about specific systems and specific important characters of echinoderms only. There is a very important feature about echinoderms that they are known as Deuterostomes. Deuterostomes, and there are I'll talk about the two terms first. There are organisms known as deuterostomes and known as proterostomes. Fine. So deuterostomes and proterostomes are two organisms. Echinoderms fall under this category. What are these? First of all, when during embryonic development, I'll write just the pointers here, that during embryonic development, blastopore is a structure which is formed. Fine. So this blastopore either gives rise to the anus or it gives rise to the mouth. So this if we see a structure, so during this development, during blastula formation, this blastopore is found. Either this blastopore will form an anus or this blastopore forms the mouth, and then this tube, and finally the other opening. So this mouth and anus, two structures can be formed from the blastopore. In the organism where it forms anus, those type of organisms are known as deuterostomes, and wherein it forms mouth are known as proterostomes. Very important that first of all you must know that echinoderms are deuterostomes in nature. Now what are deuterostomes? Deuterostomes are the organisms wherein the blastopore during embryonic development, it will give rise to an anus. Now which all organisms come under deuterostomes? I'll write it here. Deuterostomes there are only two phylums which fall under deuterostomes, that is Echinodermata and Chordata, wherein all the others all others or all other phylums, they fall under Deuterostomes, wherein the mouth will be formed from the blastopore, a very important characteristic feature of Echinodermata. Then next important feature or significant feature which is only found in echinoderms is that they have a water vascular system. They have a water vascular system which is also known as ambulatory system. Fine. So they have a water vascular system. We'll in detail talk about the water vascular system in our next video where we'll talk about the example starfish. We'll take its example and we'll discuss water vascular system. Then they have tube feet for locomotion. That means for movement they have specific balloon-like structures, tube feet. We'll also talk about how the tube feet they work when we'll take the example of starfish. So they have these tube feet present in them which help in locomotion. Then after this, the next when we talk about the various systems, now we'll talk about the various systems. Excretion, they are amonotelic. Fine. Then the next system, after excretory system comes the next system, circulatory system. Circulatory system. Now they don't have, or you can say they have an open circulatory system. They have no heart, they do not have any pumping organ, plus they don't have pigment also. Fine. So excretory system, when we talk about excretion, they are aminotelic basically. When we talk about circulatory system, they have an open circulatory system, there is no heart and there is no pigment, red, blue, no colored pigment is found. Then when we talk about the next, I'll write it here. Next system is the nervous system. Now herein, in nervous system, they have two nerve rings. We have talked about the nerve rings when we were talking about earthworm. Nerve ring is a ring-like structure which has various ganglia present from wherein the nerves they arise. Here also, echinoderms, they have two nerve rings present on upper and lower side both. Fine. That means I'll just suppose this is an organism, suppose this is a starfish with all the arms and all. It's just मैं उल्टा इसलिए बना रही हूँ so that we can talk about both the surfaces. So this is the upper and lower surface. Upper surface also will have a nerve ring, or lower surface will also have a nerve ring. So there are two types of nerve rings, one on the oral side and one on the arboreal side. Fine. Oral side is the one which has the mouth and arboreal side is the one which has the anus. But herein the oral side is towards the lower, towards the surface, and the arboreal is towards the upper surface. That also we'll do when we'll talk about starfish in detail. So herein you need to remember that it has two nerve rings. One is on the oral side and one is on the arboreal side. Then the next system is the reproductive system. Now, reproductive system, reproduction is external and development is indirect. In all the phylums, we are discussing about external and internal fertilization and indirect and direct development. Indirect development is that there are larval stages, or there is a larva which is formed. There are many types of larvae which are formed in Echinodermata, but the most common one, is bipinnate larva. Fine. So bipinnate larva is the most common larva. For development is indirect in case of Echinodermata. Now after this, they have a very, very important characteristic feature, I'll write it with a different color, of autotomy. What is autotomy? Autotomy is that they can detach any limb or any structure from their body, and this structure will regrow. Fine. This is done for defense also. This is done for fooling their prey also. So this is a very significant feature of echinoderms, that they show autotomy. I'll write about it. Autotomy, part of body can be detached and then regenerated. Fine. So this is also a very significant feature about echinoderms. Now talking about the last feature or last pointer, that would be the examples of echinoderms. So there are multiple examples. The most common ones, starfish, then we have brittle star, then we have sea urchin, sea cucumber. Now herein starfish we'll be talking about in detail in the next video as an example. Sea urchin and sea cucumber have some very significant features. I'll just quickly discuss about them. Sea urchin has a masticatory structure. Masticatory structure, the structure which is useful for chewing, that is known as Aristotle's lantern. Fine. And this is the masticatory structure, helps in mastication. Mastication means chewing. Sea cucumber, now herein sea cucumber shows a very, I have talked about autotomy, wherein any part of the body can be cut and regenerated, but sea cucumber shows a very important or very different significant feature, that is known as evisceration. Evisceration, that means it throws out any part of viscera, it throws out a part of its gut, maybe intestine, throws out of the body for defense, and then it will again regenerate in its body, will be formed again it's in its body. So what is evisceration? Removal of any part of the intestine or gut part. Fine. So that's known as evisceration, removal of viscera which can be regrown or regenerated in the body. So these are the most important significant features of echinoderms from your paper point of view, from the NEET paper point of view or competitive exam paper point of view. I have discussed all the character, the basic characters, difference between deutero and proterostomes, where are they found, how are they formed, what a vascular system, tube feed, and then the different systems, autotomy, evisceration, then different examples and their specific structures. In our next video, we'll talk about one example of echinoderms, that is starfish. We'll talk about it in detail. So keep watching, liking, sharing, subscribing. Thank you.